All right, so what we're going to try and do today is create fake plants. Now, I've been running into a lot of problems when I go to the store to kind of buy things for my home. It's all kind of super not my aesthetic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not really my aesthetic, so I end up having to change things anyway. And I was feeling around some plants because some felt really kind of rubbery and it was kind of a neat texture. And I thought to myself, how could I recreate that? And something I'm familiar with is liquid latex. So let me switch back to this. You can see with this plant, it's got kind of a nice rubbery plant feel. This was a prototype. I went kind of fun little shop of horrors meets alien with it, but it has a really nice plant texture to it. So I'm going to try and recreate that. And I came up with a couple of different techniques, and one of them is to use, and I bought a 3-pack of pantyhose. It's like $8 for 3. That's not bad. Is if we cut the pantyhose into strips, we can lay down a layer of liquid latex, which is how I did this here. This is a piece of styrofoam that I cut to shape and size, and then I covered it with a layer or two of liquid latex, and it makes a really durable kind of texture and surface and coating. And laying down the pantyhose also makes it to where you don't have to use quite as much latex, and it's got that fiber in there that'll help keep it strong. So let me switch real quick to this page. I gotta shake my bottle of latex real quick. Okay, so we got some more people. This has been quite the cluster already. And a fair warning, this latex gets kind of boogery pretty easily, so it does pull like right off of your hands and stuff, but this is the brand I'm using, Cryoland. I got it from a theater supply store, and this is what they use kind of to make bald caps. And they just take a mold of someone's head, a life cast, and then they lay down layers of liquid latex. And it's kind of dark. Some light going on. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to lay down a layer of latex, and then I'm going to put a layer of pantyhose, because the latex will help the pantyhose stop from curling back in on itself. And then we're going to keep layering on the latex. I'm also going to put between the layers of latex and pantyhose some wire, so we can make bendable and shapeable leaves. Or maybe you, my idea actually this time around was to do a pumpkin blossom. I don't know if you guys have seen what a pumpkin blossom is. Let me see if I can get it pulled up on my computer and show you guys. If you can see that, I think they're actually really pretty, and it might be fun to make kind of a Halloween pumpkin with these kind of blossoms on it that have teeth or something. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you guys how to lay out and make shapes flat with the latex, and then we can shape and mold those by kind of like origami, where if you bend something a certain way, it will stand up a certain direction. So let's go back to canvas. Move my camera down a little bit so it's at an angle. Okay. Let me see here. All right, so also I would use tin foil. It peeled off rubber pretty easily. I didn't use plastic wrap yet. I'm not sure. So you guys might have whatever surface you might have already had experience with the latex rubber. So if you've got something and you want to give pointers, go ahead and give it to people in the comment section. All right, so first thing also is I'm using this little small Harney's and Sons T10. And this will be the base for my plant. I'll put styrofoam in there, and then we'll put some wire supports and build off of it that way. But the first thing I wanted to show you guys, in case you had a specific, I know someone said that they wanted to make lilies, and that is a process that I would make flat and then just fold it and seal it with some more latex rubber, so it would make that nice kind of cup shape. But let me go still alive. Okay. So what we're going to do now is practice the portion where we're going to make basically leaves or petals using the liquid latex and wire. So let me get some pantyhose cut up. Essentially what I did was go from the crotch of the pantyhose where the pantyhose starts thinning out to be more like really thin. And I didn't use the super thick stuff, but save it because there's no reason you couldn't use it. So take a leg, cut one leg off, and then just kind of cut all the way down your pantyhose. And if you guys happen to be in Discord too, I have gloves on my hands, so it's hard for me to use my phone. If you guys could tell people in Discord that we're running so they can go ahead and join. Okay, so cut your pantyhose to where you can get it to lay kind of flat. Now these are cheaper pantyhose, so I don't know. As you can see, they start to roll in on themselves. That gets kind of irritating. And when we get to actually making the head of the plant, I decided that I'm going to hold the pantyhose in place with like straight pins, and we'll see how that goes. I didn't know if having the latex go around the straight pin would affect it much, but we'll see. So first thing I'm going to do is let's pick a size that we're going to make here. Okay, I'm going to work with kind of almost a square of the pantyhose. All right. Let me get some little cups real quick. I'm also wearing my headset so I can tell if the audio cuts out. So it's I'm like tethered to my computer. All right. So when using latex, give it a good shake. Make sure you don't have any sediment on the bottom. Some of you guys I know are not using regular liquid latex. So just follow the guidance on your containers or whatever that says. Okay, sometimes you'll have these like latex boogers inside. You do not want those. So wipe those off. Make sure it doesn't make it into a little batch that you're going to mix. Now you can do one of two things. You can just do this without mixing a color into yours, but I found, as you can see, okay, thank you for notifying the Discord. As you can see, this was not me painting on top of the latex. This was all colored latex. And the way I colored it was I used some India inks that I had left over from doing the potions live stream. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the latex. So I only work with a little bit at a time because you honestly don't need a whole lot. If you're using India inks, give them a good shake. And then give it a little bit of color. This latex is supposedly dries clear. I haven't tried it. I mean, it looks white to me when it dries, so but it will, the color will show through quite a bit once it's dry. Get some paintbrushes. And I really hope you guys took note that you should use some junky paintbrushes, because I tried. You can use a solvent like mineral spirits to kind of loosen up the latex rubber, but honestly, oh, you know what? I bought, I don't know where they went. I had brushes specifically for this. So much happens when your internet goes down. Everything else goes out the window. All the planning. I do not know where they went. Okay, anywho. So kind of, you can do this with a marker or just wing it if you would like. But I think it is best for you to plot out the shape that you want and layer it according to that shape, instead of layering a thick amount of latex on and then you go and cut your shape out of it, because you end up with a really bulky edge. And I think it looks best, especially when it comes to plants, because things kind of taper off once you get to the edge of like a leaf or a petal. So let's see, I'm just going to make a generalized leaf shape. Like that. You guys probably can't see it very well, but maybe you can see it if I switch cameras. Oops. Oops, still can't see it there, but go back to. All right, so you can kind of see it. I'm going to lay out my leaf shape, and then I am going to paint a layer of green. To kind of go with that shape. And I can't remember, did I put a hairdryer on the supply list? A hairdryer or a heat tool of some kind? Let me know if I didn't. If I didn't, I suggest going to grab one from under your sink. Okay. So I put a fine layer down. Now I'm going to stretch my pantyhose over the top of it. And I'm going to try pinning it down. And I'm using straight pins because they're a lot thinner than, say, a steel thumbtack. But maybe if I should go diagonally. Just pin it up at the top. And then I'm going to stretch it down to the bottom. but I might end up having to get those push pins out. I don't know how reliable having this in the wood is. Plus the pantyhose is kind of snaking up the top. But if you rub the pantyhose into the latex, it will kind of stay stretched out. This is like temporary, so squish it out onto there. I'm going to put another pin on the side to keep it out of the way. Oh, I didn't put the hair dryer. Okay, everyone go run and get a hair dryer or a heat tool if you've got, a heat gun if you got one. I think everyone probably has a hair dryer. If not, like I said yesterday, cleaning is kind of overrated for me right now because I can't find anything once I'm done cleaning. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to put down another layer of my latex. And I'm not very satisfied with how chaotic the beginning of this live stream was, so I'll probably be doing this again later today if anybody's missed it. I don't know. I don't know if I've got a cursed room up here or what. But it is getting easier to fix though as we go along, progress through this. So you're going to want to make sure that it's soaking through the fibers. You'll see that, so it's kind of more of a dabbing situation to get it a good soaked layer. That's what's going to have this nice kind of glossy sheen to it. And if you don't want a glossy sheen, you can always dust your latex with cornstarch. And cornstarch will also keep it from sticking back on itself. But for the purposes of this, I found I didn't actually need to use cornstarch. So was it Nicole or Meow Me that was trying to get all their stuff together for this too? Do we have Nicole here? Meow Me? Did you guys make it in here? Meow Me? It's like meow. It's like mommy, but with a meow in it. Hiss and scratch, folks. All right. So I have one layer. I set my latex off to the side. And you can make... I just like having the latex tinted green because that's less painting you have to do, because then you're just refining like lights and darks, putting highlights and shadows, as opposed to having to paint something solidly green, which I don't feel like it ever works out. So it's nice to have a tinted base, and then you can go from there. And let me see if I've got my little hair dryer tool on hand. So I do a lot of like soldering, I guess, and electrical work for like dioramas. And this little heat tool gets really stinking hot, and I use it for shrink wrap. So if you ever get the chance and you see one of these, it's actually quite nice. Celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Oh, it's like an all weekend party thing. All right, if I turn this thing on and everything blows up, forgive me. So you're just going to give this layer a good dry. Get it a little closer to dry at least. And you'll see it get darker. You'll see it get darker, which means it's, you know, pretty good. Mine's still wet, but I want to put a piece of wire down the middle of this and then see. Here we go. The one thing I hate about spooled wire is you have to straighten it back out, and I feel like I never get all the curves out. So you want it to lay as flat as possible because these layers of latex are really thin, although some of you guys I think are using much thicker latex. It'd be interesting to see if you could make a combo of them because you want this wire to be fully coated as much as you can. So I'm going to drop that down the middle there. Make sure it's making contact with the latex rubber. And as the latex dries, it gets pretty sticky. So bend it if you have to make it lay perfectly flat. And another thing you can do is you can honestly sculpt your leaves if you have a very specific texture you want in mind, or you want like veins and stuff like that. You can sculpt your leaves out in clay and make your little, you know, silicone molds, and then you can pour your latex rubber in the mold, and you can have like textured leaves and stuff like that. But that, we're going to do a whole episode on life casting, and I'm going to show you guys how to make life casted molds. So put down a layer, and then we're going to dry it so it sticks pretty good to it. Is that loud to you guys? Or does it sound like a dryer? Now you can continue like this and it will work perfectly fine as far as you'll have to build up several layers, especially around the wire, in order for it to not poke through the latex. But I thought about taking another piece of pantyhose and overlaying it onto what I've got going on right now. And I think that would save latex, especially for some people. I think we're working with maybe 1 or 2 ounces. You can definitely save latex by doubling up on your pantyhose layer. So if I sandwich that wire in between there, I think it'll be in there pretty good. So let's try it. No, it doesn't melt. It kind of like bubbles up, if that makes any sense. It bubbles up, and then the bubbles kind of dissipate. But if it bubbles up and it's still drying, it can kind of create a bit of a funk on the underside texture that's touching the tin foil or aluminum foil. Anyone know why we call it tin foil? I'm assuming it's because it used to be made out of tin before they could make it in aluminum, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to stretch this out. I feel like it's a question for Mina Murray. Mina Murray knows all. And this might make nice thick, like, I don't know why I keep thinking banana leaves. I don't even know what the heck a banana leaf is. But I feel like that's a thing. And it would look something like this. Okay. So I've got another layer stretched over the top. So I am going to try a second layer on top. Smoosh it all down. I'm going to start at the wire. I think that's kind of nice because it looks like the wire's a little more natural. Once again, I cleaned my craft room last night and I had an example of the precursors to this. I think I might still have them, but I'll look in just a minute. Alright, so you obviously want your layers to stick together, so you want to put enough to get those to stick together, but kind of fan out your thickness towards the edge of your leaf because you do not want to apply a whole bunch there because when you cut the shape out, it's going to look bulky, and I think we don't want that. And if you have multiple leaves, you could be working on them at the same time. But I'm trying to show the basic process right here of what we are actually doing. So you can see that before we move on to making our plant. Because the plant is going to be a little tricky. It's going to require me to move the camera around a lot. So I want you guys to just get a good look at what the heck is going on first before I start moving, giving you guys motion sickness. So, all right. I think those layers will be sticking together. Maybe not. We'll see. Pin it here in the corner. Anywhere it looks like it's being tugged on. I'm gonna pin it back. And your fingers will get super sticky. So, yeah, looks like that will work. Really am concerned that it's not sticking here. Maybe I need a little more. Okay, as you can see, it starts to dry pretty quick. Let me see if the camera will focus on my paintbrush. No, we don't want to focus on it. You can see these little boogers that start to form. You kind of want to keep those under control. They gunk up the whole process. If you happen to get latex on your clothes or your surface or anything, just wait for it to dry and then it'll just peel off like a dry booger. Don't try and mess with it when it's wet because it'll just get ingrained down in the fibers and then it will not come off. Trust me, I learned from experience. Let me see if I can find those little test runs that I did so you guys can see what this will look like when it's dry. I'll be right back. Okay, so this was a test run that I had done. This was the side that was facing the aluminum, and I had really hit it up with the dryers and it started to bubble. So if it does bubble, this is what it'll look like. Kind of have this eaten up texture a little bit, which you might be able to use that to your advantage if you wanted to. But the side that will be facing the aluminum will probably be your least shiny side. And then this was the other side, which is like kind of a waxy leaf color or texture. And then you can see this was I made one big kind of sheet of the rubber, and it has one layer of pantyhose in it. And when I cut this out of it, it doesn't look really realistic because it had this very sharp edge and it had a thickness to it. So it looks better if it's tapered. So I'm suggesting we do it this way. It'll look, I think, a little more natural. But we'll see. And as you can tell, this wire is in there pretty good. But you can kind of see it right there. And that's what I'm trying to conceal with the second layer of pantyhose. It might require, less layers of rubber. I'm going to put this with the dryer. You can see it getting dark really quick. And it's pretty dry to the touch for the most part. It dries up pretty quick. So before you take it off of the bottom though, you need to, because the bottom is the part that needs to dry the longest because it's got all those layers. And just kind of peel up an edge. And to the bottom of mine, it's looking still gooey, so I'm going to give it a good dry. Continue giving it a dry. Or you can take it while it's still wet and flip it over and dry it. I did that on one of my little test runs, and it didn't do much harm. So it's just that under layer, once the rubber gets dry, it's hard to hit up with the dryer. So. Let's flip it and see what it looks like on the other side. I always seem to step on straight pins up here. My craft room has carpeting, and I did a bunch of glass cutting up here, and I always get straight pins stuck in my feet. And I didn't even notice I had a piece of glass in my foot really until I turned around and there was blood all over the floor. But very carefully peel it up. Cool. For the most part, it was dry. So once that dries up all the way, you got yourself a leaf. So yeah, I think that works out pretty good. It's not done drying, so you're still gonna see the lighter spots, but the potential here is pretty good, I think. Especially, I think I might get into, maybe one day I'll like sell creepy plants I've made or something. But now take your scissors and just cut the edge away. And you can add more layers if you want. This is a decent thickness. It maybe could handle to be a little more thicker. Like I think if I were to do this, keep going at it, I would definitely thicken it up here at the bottom just to have, you know how leaves are a little thicker at the base than they are at the tip. So maybe I will add a quick little layer and then we can start working on the plants themselves. But I definitely like the 2 layers of pantyhose. I think that is worth doing for sure. You get a nice little cover of that wire, and that is not coming out of there between those 2 pieces of pantyhose. And it saves you, I mean, I used a tiny bit of the latex. So I think honestly that was a win. So I'm going to throw a layer on there at the bottom, and then I'll set that off to the side to dry while we start digging into the making of plants. Now, did you guys come up with like little concepts for your plants? How did you go about, how did you guys come, or are you kind of using what are you kind of modeling your plants off of the one I showed? Anyone care to share with the class? And another thing, you can layer different colors of latex, and and I did a really sloppy job on the prototype, but if you can see here, it's got a nice blend. You can blend the colors of latex, and if you don't want them to blend, you pop it on top and you dry it right in the spot without you kind of need both segments to be wet, but you can definitely layer it on. Let's see, maybe this side better. But I was doing a little bit of layering right here in the front. As you can see, it kind of fades towards like a red. I'm definitely going to be exploring the use of latex a lot more, because I think this is something we could use for prosthetics, for Halloween costumes, and obviously making plants, but I think there's a lot of applications for this. Okay, so I'm just going to, and obviously if you're like, oh, one side's shinier than the other, you just throw another layer on the other side and they will pretty much be equally. And it'll bend and it'll stay. Now you have a banana leaf, or whatever I'm calling it. I don't know why I just want to call it a banana leaf. So I'll set this off to the side, and then we'll start talking about the plant. Lilies for sure. And lilies are cool because they fade down into the green. And this would work really nicely for that. So let me get this set up. Set off to the side. And we can start plotting and carving some styrofoam. Sundew, for sure. The sundew, I mean, you find something that you could just like dip repeatedly in the rubber, and to make those little spindly, whatever you want to call them, feelers, I guess. Little spindly feelers that are hanging off each tendril. A pitcher plant. So the first thing I wanted to do was make just a cloche, however you say it, full of the pitcher plants. And I don't know why, but I saw a little shop of horrors, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make Audrey. So I got ADD on that situation. But I will be using this method to make myself a never dying plant, because I can't keep plants alive, and they're expensive. God, are they expensive. My house doesn't get a whole lot of sunlight, and I shun the sun like the plague. So I'm just gonna make my own plants, and they're all gonna have personalities, so I can have friends. Okay, so let's take my vase, and I need to fill this up with something to make it stable and steady, and a base for the neck of my plant. Now, I could chop this down, but I think I actually want to save this styrofoam because for whatever reason the price on that shot up. So I have a piece of green floral foam, which I don't suggest people use too often because it's got, you know, like formaldehyde and stuff in it. And my brother almost lost his eye like for like the third time because he was working with floral foam without eye pro on, and it like made his cornea slide off of his eye. But star-shaped one with the eyeball in the middle. Yeah. Oh, that'd be so that would be a good starter too, to make kind of like something like a, you know, like if you look at the pumpkin blossoms, that would be perfect. Just put eyeballs. That's Alpha Victor. Oh, Vox, you're coming up with a good idea here. If you just put a little eyeball in the center of that thing, looks like a star lily or whatever, that would be really cool. And that would be super easy to make in the method we just talked about. So let me go get the foam. I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, sorry, just decided that I didn't want to use all that. And one thing I hate about this is that it gets, yeah. I gotta cut a little bit off. You don't want to trim it too much. I do like this stuff because it cuts really easily, but that's part of the problem. It gets like dust particles and goes everywhere. Okay. And I will shove these other ones aside, maybe create some little shims so the base doesn't move around. Now I'm going to kind of fill in those empty spaces around it with some hot glue, just so it stays in place and doesn't pull out when I'm playing with the stuff. So hot glue gun, just shove some along the sides to hold it in place. Where did my other piece of tell you, someone's playing tricks on me today. All my stuff is like out of place, to include the internet. Had another glue stick sitting right here. Anyway, should be pretty good. Doesn't seem like it's moving around very much. And we are ready to start. So this is going to be the base that I will end up covering. If you look at this was very hastily done, but that styrofoam, this was a round of styrofoam that I cut to kind of fit the top because I thought it would be a nice, better way to arrange the leaves in like a tiered formation. So what we're going to do is just you're going to cover that with a Mod Podge or something. And I'm probably going to actually put some like fake dirt down there at the base of my plant. I think that's what I'm going to do for like some texture and stuff. But that'll end up getting painted. But I'm not going to worry about doing that right now to save a little bit of time. Because you know how my live streams are. They're like 5 hours long. Now, I'm going to use the smaller one. This is the size that I think I'm going to go with. It's not much smaller than the other one, but I think this would be good. So I'm using a sphere. But what you're going to want to do is draw yourself. Depends if you want an open or closed mouth. I'm going to make mine open. So you want to make your mouth kind of mimic this, have not just be straight across, not look like Pac-Man. So I'm going to have my front lip kind of curl down. So whatever you do, don't make a straight line. And I'm going to start cutting into my styrofoam. I would cut straight in. Try not to cut at an angle because you will end up with that angle permanently. Where's my smaller one? These are really awesome blades. You can just, when it gets dull, you just snap off a segment of it and the next one is just as sharp. This, if you're going to X-Acto knives like this, they have their uses, but they're expensive. Let's go for cheaper. Okay, so I cut that. And if you're one of those people that has to like mark up a bunch of lines and stuff to plot it out exactly, go more power to you. But I typically will just eyeball it. I went to art school. Used to drive my teachers nuts because I wouldn't do any of the plotting stuff that everyone else was doing. I'm just going to eyeball it, and they're like, that's not what we're working on. I also don't like everything being symmetrical. So, nothing is symmetrical. Perfectly symmetrical, at least. You can make things symmetrical if, you know, if you're that kind of person. No goblins. Hopkin goblins. What is that? Okay. So, just cut your styrofoam ball in half. Be careful because it's round. It's going to be rolling around your table. There's a lot of weird things being made into t-shirts. There's some like drama going. Anyone here on TikTok? I'm on the old TikToks, and there's some kind of weird drama going on between two people, and everyone misunderstood what this person was saying, and now it's just turned into like a big joke, and t-shirts are being made of it. And okay, so I have, let me see, which part do I want to be the front? I'll make this my front, and I'm just going to mark that just to make sure I put a little circle here. That's going to be the front for me. You don't want to use too much marker on this, because if you're covering it with one layer of pantyhose, you're probably going to see that marker underneath it. I mean, you can always like slice it off, but just a little word of advice. So to make the mouth start taking form, you can start chopping away at these lips, and I would do it when it's still whole, or you can do it as two separate halves, but I always like to make the bottom lip fit under the top, or you can give it like a underbite if you want. And then start slicing it away. For the other one, I'd actually used one of those styrofoam heads, the little female heads that look like mannequins, I guess you want to call them. And I feel like that sliced better. Like it was easier to slice through that. So as you're going through, just chip out your shapes. Like you don't have to follow along with exactly what I'm doing. If you already know what you want yours to look like, just start cutting your skull fit or whatever it is. Your little Audrey plant. You can make it however you want. So you don't feel like you have to sit here and watch me. Also, sometimes it helps to take your scissors to get big chunks out. Once you've made your cut, you start working through it. I have a turkey knife, like an electric turkey knife that I use dedicated for foam, but I lost it. I don't know where it is. I use it for puppets and stuff, getting the foam together. Slices right through. I was skeptical. I was like, I'm going to buy this thing and it's not going to cut through what I need. And it did. They're sharper than they look. Okay, so what you're essentially trying to get right now is the top and bottom of your plant's head. Your Venus flytrap, I guess, is what the closest thing that I'm working on. Now I am going to slice all the way through this thing. And hopefully not hurt myself because it's sliding around the table. Ugh, I hate the sound of styrofoam, so sorry if you are someone who's like me. Anyone listening to some music or also watching a movie? Oh, the drama, there's some sort of I think that's what you're referring to. I don't know. I keep catching snippets of it. I don't know what the full story is, but the word womb lands is like plastered all over t-shirts right now. So it's such a weird story, but oh, TikTok is like the new soap operas. So let me try and pull this apart. There we go. All right, I got my 2 halves. My floor is going to be covered in styrofoam. Also, there's nice static electronics all the way around here. Okay, so this is the top and front. And you just need to start clearing away like a roof of a mouth. I wouldn't go too far up, like don't make it like a half dome or anything, but styrofoam balls are not my favorite. There we go. Just kind of cut it out in the wedges. That usually seems to work the best. Whoop, it flips them off. So as you can see also on this one, I attempted to just apply the latex to the surface of, let me find it here. As you can see, I applied the latex, a tinted latex, straight to the styrofoam, and it kind of made a nice mottled interior to the mouth. So, I mean, if you don't like that, you could use the technique where you coat it again with pantyhose, but I actually kind of like the little bumpies that it leaves because we have bumps all in our mouths. Little weird human bumps in our mucous membranes. So I kind of liked it. Also, if you don't want your head to be round, you can also cut its profile, which I'll probably end up doing once I get a little bit of this mouth scooped out. I wouldn't scoop out too much of, yeah, hot tools are great for sure. Little wire hot tools. Hobby Lobby actually sells a set. I was going to make some, but it's probably better to buy something that's like rated for like electronic purposes. Yeah. Everything's got fumes that are going to freaking kill you. Crafting is a dangerous business, apparently. Okay. So, before I go any further, I'm going to, maybe I can show you guys with a pen. What I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of make it look more like an almond shape. So I'm going to cut, like looking from the top, just kind of do some plastic surgery marks on your sphere here and kind of shave it down. Does anyone notice like a huge hike in the prices for all the crafting supplies? It's killing me. So I'm just shaving this down to kind of a more almond shape, like half of an almond. Just be checking it as you go along. This side needs to be a little shaved off a little bit. And another thing we're going to do different is I assembled the head completely and then I put the pantyhose on top of it. And that worked. Obviously, it worked a little bit. But I think it would be better to cover each half separately with the pantyhose and then put them together. And then cover the point where they connect, like the top and bottom half. That they'll be hot glued together. I think it, and then we'll cover that last. So shave your head down to the shapes you like. I'm just gonna mess with this for a little bit. My plant doesn't have any eyes, so if you guys have eyes, you'd be also placing that in your styrofoam as well. I want this guy to have a little bit of a snoot. So I'm going to chop him down a little bit here. How are you guys at thinking in 3D space? Are you guys able, when you sculpt something, can you see it in your mind? Or do you have to annotate, make a bunch of annotations? Okay, I see from another angle what I'm doing. So I'm going to make a little snoot here. I'm pretty good at seeing things in my mind in 3D space. Like, that's one thing. If I have to pat myself on the back for anything, it's that I have the ability to pretty much come up with an idea and I can execute it. Yeah, there have been instances where I was like, that did not quite turn out how I wanted it to be. But I'm usually super persistent as well, so that kind of two things that go well with each other. Okay, so I'm kind of zeroing in on a little shape I like. I made these little bulges right here because if you look at a snake's face, this would be kind of the area that like a fang would come out of. I haven't quite settled on a good teeth method, and I think I'm going to be using hot glue, 100% hot glue for the teeth. I used little metal spikes that I cut off, which provided a base for the hot glue to be put on. And that worked fine, but it was a little globby. but it does look like it's coming kind of out of the plant. Like these really kind of thin, clear, venom-filled teeth. And that's kind of, I liked that. So I'm going to stick with the hot glue, but I haven't quite decided if I want the metal pieces inside of it. They kind of create a good anchor, but I haven't decided yet. So yeah, cutting away a little snake boop snoot. Work on the interior a little bit. And when you are making an interior of a mouth, we all have palates at the top of our mouth. So if you kind of cut like another almond shape or a wedge and then take out around it, not only are you saving yourself peeling some, but it'll also look a little bit more realistic. So let me show you. So I'll be cutting, I want it to be recessed into the mouth, but I don't want to remove the palate completely. So this part will be kind of sticking down a little bit once I get it to the depth that I want, but then this part around the edge is going to get recessed a lot more, if that makes any sense. Yeah, press on nails, that's good. I've seen people using those in their actual, on their actual teeth with some like denture glue or whatever. Vampires. Where did I put my... So as you can see, I just cut that divot out, so I'm very quickly coming to a palette. So I'll cut the other side out, and dig it out, and then I'll reduce the size or the depth of the palette to kind of speed things up a little bit. Also, don't get in the habit of cutting towards yourself with an X-Acto knife. I'm just trying to, it's hard to film and craft at the same time. I am not gonna lie, it's kind of difficult. Well, that wetness is from the latex and the hot glue. Not bad for a day's crafting adventure or one evening. I can't remember what movie I was watching, but it'll come to me. I haven't gotten to watch very many movies. Oh, Hellbinder? I think it's called Hellbinder. That was an interesting take on witches. Anyone see that movie? Hellbinder? Yeah. So I watched a little clip of someone freaking out because they're like, what do you mean you see things in your head? They're like, I don't see things in my head when I think about them. And I'm like, that to me is weird. Like, what does that mean physiologically? What does that mean? That they can't picture things in their mind. Hi. Like when you have a conversation with someone and they say apple, what happens? What's going on in your head? You don't picture it as they're saying it? Is there anyone like that here? Yeah, sometimes I wish that we would do these in Discord, just because it's kind of, it'd be nice for you guys to be able to talk too, instead of having to stop whatever you're doing to type something. But haven't quite figured out how to record a Discord session so future patrons can watch it. Yeah, Hellbinder is about like witches, and like it's a whole different take where witch is more like a creature, I guess, like an ancient creature than anything, and it is interesting. Alright, so I'm shaving down that palette a little bit. You guys see how it's taking shape, and then we'll work on the bottom. This is the front. You see how it's going to be? I'm a subtractive artist. I don't like if someone tells me I have to sculpt something by adding little piece by little piece, just like Sculpey artwork, it's a painful for me. I'm a subtractive artist. I like doing, because you get really cool angles, and I feel like you get closer to the anatomy, and I don't like things looking mushy. I'm very much against mushiness in artwork. Not saying there's not a place for it, just saying that I prefer to have some kind of something with a little more architecture to it. So. A salamander, huh? Well, everyone should be, I think that's on, I don't know who can, first of all, afford to just run into a project without planning it. I guess there's plenty of people, actually, as we're all finding out. There's plenty of people who can afford doing crazy stuff. But I definitely, from the very first episode, I put an emphasis on planning, because who's got money to go buy stuff over again? Not to mention supply. Next time you go back to the art store, they might not have it, and they might not have it for months. So, and another thing, I'm going to just very quickly cut some ridges into the top of the mouth, like you saw in the other one. Nice little meaty mouth ridges. I don't know whose are there. It's just an interesting, who's got that in their mouth, but it's an interesting graphic element. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. Cut some V channels. And pop them out. But yes, I absolutely agree. It'd be cool to go back and do this with a heat tool. So, you know, stuff looks a little maybe smoother, goes a little faster, but we're having a little chit-chatty fun time. Oh, yeah, I feel like every time I recommend a movie, I need to warn people, like, there's violence and blood and, and blood in it. I don't think there's, like, crazy nudity or anything, but... And it comes back, why didn't you tell me that was crazy? Oops, sorry. I forgot. So, getting there. And I'm just roughing this in. You can refine it as much as you want, but I just want to get us through a whole little plant segment so you guys can have something to show. Be a nice little fun Ostra craft. Is anyone celebrating Ostra tomorrow? I am. I'm going to walk around with seed bombs. Seed bomb my yard. Okay. So I got my little, I'm going to shave this down so it, refine the shape so it's less angular. But that's the top half of my little dude here. Well, I guess it's asexual. I don't know. I'm not assuming. Okay. What do you guys think so far? And then I'm going to cut the bottom one to be on the inside of the jaw. So actually, let me mark that so they kind of match the top and bottom. So I'm going to kind of show where the top is hitting. Otherwise, your plant will look like it needs braces. I had braces. Did anyone else have braces growing up? I didn't get them until college, though. I had to pay for them. You're celebrating with a hangover. What a good way to start out your spring. Yay, Ostra. I need to burn like an old couch that's been sitting outside. I look like a real hillbilly right now outside my house. In the back, I mean, you can't see it from like the front of my house, but I have this old couch that my two enormous dogs have ruined, and it's just sitting outside waiting for me to send it off in a fiery funeral pyre. I might do that tomorrow. When is it mushroom time? Is that spring or fall? I always feel like that's fall. Okay, so go. I'm going to make it less rounded on the bottom jaw. So that's the front, the bottom to like this. Has it already been 2 hours, or am I? My time is like, feels way off. How has this been 2 hours so far? we started probably like at 2:15 or something like that. It says we've been live for an hour and a half. Okay, so I'm just making that less round right now. And then we'll get that into the rough shape I want. And then we can start coating. I for sure want to do the pumpkin blossom idea. I think I'll do that, and maybe if it turns out cool, I'll give it away or something. So as you're carving, always just be rotating it so you can see it from all angles. This is, you know what? Styrofoam is actually a good practice for like wood carving. So, a much cheaper way to get practice in than with actual wood these days. Wood is insane. One of these days, now that it's warmed up and my garage isn't so insanely cold, I can start working on the Medusa jewelry cabinet that I had started forever ago. If you don't know what I'm talking about, on my Instagram, Sinister Sarah, you can see the legs that I made for it. Okay, so here's my guy for now. I'm gonna carve out his little mouth. This one I carved a tongue into it. I think I'm just gonna leave the tongue out this time, maybe. But what we need to do here is make kind of a little groove and slot for these to fit in each other. You can absolutely just glue it to itself right now, but I think that looks less natural if it's just hinging right there. So I'm going to cut it into a V shape in the back, kind of like this. So I'm going to cut it into kind of a V shape like that. And then I will mimic that shape on the bottom, and then they'll fit kind of more naturally into each other. And then it'll look good once we get it covered with, cover it with pantyhose and like liquid latex. Okay, so I got that carved out real quick. And then I'll go back to my mouth. And mark on there where I want it to line up. And then I'm going to cut that channel out so they'll fit together. Got a little groove, fit them, just to be bigger. And I'm doing it this way because his mouth is going to be open the whole time. So it needs to come down a little bit more. Almost there. Getting crunchies up in my sleeves. Fitting pretty good. Okay, I'm just gonna hollow out some of this a little bit for the bottom. just gonna smooth it. Thank you. When things go smoothly, which is not very often, right? And actually I don't like that he's got this big like turkey gullet, so I'm gonna cut that down. Whoop. Is anyone going really big with theirs right now? Double check. And make a little bit of a mouth in here. Smaller one, cut an angle. Going the other way. Scissors. So you can see I could very easily make a little tongue if I wanted to right now. I'll just shade it down a little bit so we can get to the other portion of this. And plus that little weird texture might be kind of nice. I'm just going to round it out though. Kind of, because this foam looks like, let me see. These little round bits. That's kind of, it might look like little eggs or some tongue texture and stuff. So I'm going to try and hang on to a little bit of that. And then I'm going to shave this hard edge on the outside a little bit. Just to round it out. Yeah, I was gonna make some thinner, like actual like floppy looking fly traps using the flat kind of method that I was showing you guys. Like I said, I'm gonna keep going with this, and if I find something that really works, or I think you guys would be really interested in it, I'll show you. But this is just, you can do a lot with this. The rubber is pretty forgiving. All right, let me clean up this stupid styrofoam real quick. And it's kind of important that you do a pretty good cleanup of your workspace, because all this junk gets trapped in your latex. And I mean, you may want bumpy latex. I don't know. It's probably a thing you could use to your advantage. But for the sake of this. And I also think it would be best if I put the teeth in after. It's like the last step. And then go back and give it a couple coats with the rubber if you'd like. Oh my goodness. Like my place might be messy, like as far as like piles of projects and stuff places, but when I cannot handle these little these little bits everywhere. All right, hang on a second. I'm gonna dust myself off real quick. You guys ever seen people just working on those huge foam carved like projects for like Disneyland and stuff? I cannot imagine what that workshop's like, but they probably have like a vacuum like nearby already. They have someone that does that for them. Like you're just the vacuum person. All right, gloves. New gloves. I thought it would be fun to make a big version of this and make it your candy dispenser for Halloween out on your front porch or something. I think that'd be really fun. Okay, so not perfect, but it's roughed out right now. And what we're going to do now is cover these. Let me see if I can. It would help if I actually put it down here more. Does this look better? No? Bit of an odd angle. We'll just go with this. I'll just have to be farther away from the camera. We're going to cover these with the pantyhose latex alternating situation. And I think that will work best because you'll be able to wrap it underneath and you'll have a nice coat. Or you can very controlled, which you might want to have like a little rolled lip of it. You can roll the pantyhose into kind of a little lip, and that looks kind of nice. So I might do that on the top and bottom. So get your cut pieces of pantyhose. And you can stretch this out pretty good to cover things. So. And it's going to fit it over the top. Oh, we got to mix some of our, where's my brushes? Get some of your latex out. Okay. Brush. Put a little coat. On your styrofoam. And the other nice part about doing this while the head is like not connected on some kind of neck is when I was working on the other one, it was like spring loaded. So it was like bobbing back and forth the entire time. And that was really irritating. Yeah, I'm going to lay down a piece of foil wherever I put that. Here we go. I suggest keeping your surface covered because if you get your actual like table or whatever gunky, you can just replace the foil as opposed to wash your whole stinking table again. All right, so cover the whole thing. And it starts to get a little sticky. And I'd actually wrap it under a little bit. Yeah, you could absolutely. Oh, so here's one thing. The latex rubber doesn't stick as well to hot glue. Just so you know. But yes, it does work. You can do it that way as well. All right, so now that I have a little stickiness, I'm going to lay the pantyhose, which is now covered in speckles of stuff. I'm going to lay it over the guy like this. And I'm going to pin it into place, and we will see if the pins come out easy or not. Don't go to the hilt on the pin, because that'll make it harder to get out. So stretch it over your little form here. You guys see where we're going with this? The guy's a little lumpy. Obviously didn't get to spend a lot of time cutting him down to size, but it works. Okay, so I have the top how I want it. So to get that little rolled edge, if you cut it just close to the line, it will kind of curve back on itself. So I'm going to go around and cut this kind of close, but don't cut it exactly too close, because you want that excess pantyhose to roll up. And that'll kind of give it a nice little rolled edge, and it won't just look like it's blending seamlessly into the styrofoam as much. I mean, obviously, if that's what you want, that's what you want. But I'm going to try and see if I can't get a little curled edge, a different in texture, so it looks kind of like a skin lip or something like that. So, got it. Now let's see if I can't just curl it back on itself a little bit. Pantyhose sticking in my hand. Hoping it doesn't look junky, because sometimes when it gets the latex rubber in it, it's getting kind of crunchy looking. One disobedient section. Okay. I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to push my luck. Oh, Fabled Journals, welcome to the show. So this side's rolling up kind of nicely, but it's not going consistently around it. So that'd be experimented when we are not at 2 hours into or an hour and 45 minutes into a live stream. Okay. All right, so now what you need to do is start adding your layers. And if you want a second color, now would be the time to start kind of alternating and mixing it together. that. And I might do one for the pink, kind of like a toxic pink color. The green, I'd like to be a little more on the chartreuse side, but I didn't have time to run and get my yellow ink out, so. Give it a good stir. So you can absolutely layer in. So you, I think Fox had said that she was thinking about the eyeball with like petals around it kind of thing. You could get one of the spheres, coat it this way with different colors of your latex, and then do some detail painting to make like irises and all of that. And then just stick the the petals that you made into the styrofoam and it'll look pretty flawless. Okay, so okay, now we're going to set that aside real quick, and we're going to do the other half. Need to put some on the bottom here. I think honestly paint with latex would work because, I mean, like Liquitex is pretty much latex paint. It's all a form of plastic. I don't see anything on like warning labels or say don't mix it with paint. I just happened to one day say, you know what, I wonder if I could use the India inks with it. So here we are, and it worked out pretty good, and it gives a nice translucent quality to the color. So let's cover this half quickly. They also have, if you go to the paint aisle, they have like gel mediums and stuff, and those things kind of give the same effect. Not quite like rubber. It won't have the elasticity of the rubber, but I mean, I don't see why you couldn't use them if you built it up enough. Like I said, they're all essentially plastics and rubbers. And there's also paints that have they're more pigment and less filler. So those would probably work really good too. Okay, I'm going to stretch the pantyhose over this section. Get my pen ready. It's almost like you're vacuum forming your... Do you guys know anything about vacuum forming, the vacuum forming process? I actually want to do an episode on vacuum forming. I've wanted to build my own vacuum form. So you can make like candy molds and stuff like that. So maybe we'll do that one day. We'll see. Kind of down to the wire as far as jobs go. Or needing to get a job, so. Go around pinning it in place. The latex really holds this pantyhose in place. It's actually kind of ideal, honestly. The way this sticks out. See? Isn't that little lumpy guy? It's alright. It's okay. Nothing wrong with being lumpy. And we'll cut this. And I would probably cut it back from where the two pieces of styrofoam are going to meet each other. And we're going to hot glue them together here in a minute. All right, let's coat it. So how's everyone's businesses going? I know most of you guys have your own kind of creative ventures and Patreons and whatnot. How's it going for everyone? Starting to think that the world situation is getting a lot of folks down. So subscriptions, I think, are probably not not everyone's top priority. I saw you posted a couple new journals. Mina Murray did a video. She's actually done quite a few videos this year so far. Pragmatic is crafting maniac. Alright, so wherever you have the pantyhose, just make sure you have it tacked down with the latex, or you cut it off. You can actually kind of blend out your edges with it by adding a layer, a few layers of the latex. So if you feel like you have like an edge or something that you're not liking, don't worry, you can kind of conceal it with layers of latex. So okay, so I'm gonna hit these up with a dryer real quick, and then we're gonna glue them together and we're gonna make a neck. starting to darken up. Make sure you're not overheating your styrofoam. It's kind of heat sensitive, so. And I'm going to remove my pins. Yeah, the pins work fine. They came out, no problem. So feel free to use some straight pins. It's not gonna, I thought it was going to possibly pull the pantyhose away from the styrofoam, but it didn't. So, score, another score in the win box for us. Okay, grab this one. And it's kind of cool because even if your latex isn't 100% dry, you can still work with it. Like, it's not going to come off on your other stuff as long as you get it decently dry. It'll just be a little tacky, so make sure that you don't get any other like stuff on it, like the styrofoam bits or whatever. But when you're doing yours, definitely take some time and make your little dude or doodad or it or whatever you want to call it smooth. To focus on the shapes. Oh. I usually listen to audiobooks while I'm crafting. Okay, so we have the top and bottom half. If you look at this one, wrong. Let me see. Is it going to focus? I have it on autofocus, so there we go. You can see where there needs to be some more put in there. More layering done. But for the assembly purpose, like, we can totally layer it up after the fact. But for now, we can go ahead and assemble our little person here. Now, I think, just so I don't get it all over the green, I'm going to paint the pink in there. Like I said, it's tacky, so these two sides will actually stick to each other at this juncture. I think, so I have more control over, that was another problem. When I was doing the big one, the pink kind of slopped out everywhere because it was first of all in this sort of wobbly bobblehead situation, and then I was having to try and get around teeth and stuff. So let's just try and get things where they're intended to go. So let's color this going right up to the edge of the mouth. And I think I'm going to go just past it a little bit. And I'm going to end up blending where the lips and the skin meet. So I'm going to kind of let it go up on the green a little bit. And I'll alternate layers, so it'll have a nice blended look to it. I actually like using the sponge brush. It's pretty useful. Regular paintbrushes get gunked up and then you're just smearing a really hard thing over the surface. So far the sponge brushes have kind of been a little better. But you can absolutely use the other ones if you'd like. So we're just gonna, this looks like a, what is that, Pepto-Bismol pink, but it dries really dark. And if you're just joining, I was talking about earlier how I'm only attempting tinting the latex now because it'll make the painting job a lot easier later on. Etsy shop, huh? I'm actually thinking about starting a website and just selling my little weird stuff that I make on it, as opposed to going through Etsy, because I don't know, a lot of people are having a lot of issues with Etsy right now as far as they're raising their fee prices and all kinds of stuff, I guess. Just historically, artists have always just been kind of screwed. We're used for our creativity, and then ready to cut that piece right there. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to at least get a base layer of the pink, red, pink, whatever you want to call it, down, so I can make sure I get it in all of the cracks, which was difficult to do when it was mounted to the bobbly neck. And I had done that little membrane on the side of the mouth. I would probably also do that before you mount it to a neck. I'm just going to take this up onto the back of the head a little bit. Kind of color it. Give it a little bit of coloring. Maybe I'll make it look kind of like a little, a dog has like a spot over where an eye would be. I think I'm going to do that right here. Give it some coloration over one eye. You guys see this is like his little snout. Give it some personality. Oh. All right. Oh, get off my fingers. All right, I'm going to hit that up with a dryer to let it set. And then I'm going to hot glue the two halves together. Make sure your stuff doesn't drip all over the place. I sticking in my hands here. So. Son of a gun. Where's my paper towel? I got some on the back side where I don't want it. And if you do get a drip, don't worry about it. Just put another coat of the other color on top and it'll be fine. Looking mighty sloppy, but the more layers you add, the more like together the whole thing will start to pull. Okay. So let's get a hot glue stick. If we gotta go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. I gotta grab a glue stick that I obviously misplaced. Be right back. Okay. Now let's glue our two halves together. Get my chair back up here. Okay. Simply glue on one end or side. Obey me, stupid hot glue gun. Let's get enough on there so you'll be able to position it. Okay. So we have our little person thing here. I definitely would have made the shape a little more refined. And kind of use the hot glue to bridge the gap because we're going to cover this back part with the latex. So we'll just do several layers of latex so it's nice and smooth. And having that gap filled will make it a lot easier. Okay, so I'm just going to let that fill. And if you want right now, you could add another layer or two of latex. I need to change this out because I keep rolling it through the pink. All right, here's plant spot. Flip it over. And just hold that there. Just wait for that hot glue to set. And I'll probably end up using the wire again to make the fangs. I felt like that was kind of an easy way to build them up, but so here's the base of it. That guy's kind of chunky little snake looking dude. And now we are going to build a neck. Where'd my wire go? Here we go. To do this, just cut several strips of wire. Just think about how high you want it. I don't want it to be too high. Make it top heavy. But the cool thing is we're using styrofoam, so the base is really, or the head is really light. And that's another thing. I see a lot of people using Sculpey for like everything. And that's just, it's so heavy. So it kind of limits your application a little bit. You know what, I think is that gonna, I kind of want to use this on the thing again because it's a lot. I'm afraid this is going to be too soft. So fill your base with not floral foam. Honestly, I'm not a fan of it, but maybe if I chuck some glue around the base of it to keep it from wiggling. And you're going to want like 3, 4, probably 4 strands of wire, unless you're using, you know, a super heavy duty gauge. But I would still use more than 1 strand because you can build it out to make it look a little more, just easier, honestly. Like I want the base of the neck to be a little beefier than the top, or you can have it vice versa. I was looking at the jug plants. It's kind of weird how they're suspended on this little vine. This thing that's full of liquid has like a little vine that holds up the entire jug. So plants are crazy. That's all I gotta say. Anyone's gardens blooming yet? I definitely have like a Morticia Adams greenhouse look going on in my garden. And make sure you're putting the wires in how you're probably going to have the neck be. I'm going to curve 1 wire to support the jaw, so it'll have like a little bit of a meatiness. Kind of like our necks don't go straight up into our heads. And I'm probably going to do 1 more wire at the back. I'm going to make that one long. So you see kind of how I'm making an armature for the shape of the neck. And then I'm going to take, you can take cotton batting if you have some, or use the extra pantyhose to stuff on the inside of the neck to help flush out the form a little bit. Or you can use more wires, it's up to you. But this is the shape I'm going to go with. Let that cool before I start digging away at it. Does anyone have any questions so far? Are we just hanging out? Now my only concern is that these will not poke through, but they should. Yes, they do. Okay. So you want to stick them in. If you need to trim them back a little bit, do it. But I'm going to stick these in and pull that out of the styrofoam. And I like to have the heads kind of canted off to the side instead of just sitting there statically. Adds a little more of a dynamic pose. I'm going to cover these again. And then I'm going to stick this last one kind of up in the back, like right here. So I'm going to cut that a little bit. Stick it in there. Okay. Okay, so now you can see the neck, and I can just kind of shape it how I want. Okay, and now I'm going to, what we need to do is cut a piece of pantyhose, and it's going to go wrapped around and attached back here on the back of the head. So that'll kind of create, you know how a bud has that little attachment point to the stem? That's what we're kind of making now. So let's cut a piece that will cover the neck first. And it'll make it a lot easier because we're using the straight pins. So it's going to be a lot easier than when I did it the first time. These hose came with a run in it already. I guess don't buy the 3-pack from Walmart if you are in a pinch, because you're going to end up being disappointed. I'm going to put some more glue. Okay, looking pretty good. We are going to first, maybe I'm just going to glue, let's glue it on there first. Let's glue the big pantyhose in there. So take the control top portion and cut it into some chunks there. And I am going to put it inside and kind of glue it in position because I want it to kind of help puff the neck up a little bit. Or you can use batting, which I do have some batting. Maybe I'll use some batting. Or let me just use this. Hate using something if I'm possibly going to need it for something else. So we'll just use the junky parts of the pantyhose that we're not using for anything else. And I'm just going to stick it in here. Kind of got it stuck to the back of the head a little bit. And we're going to shove this in here and kind of glue it to the frame. And then when we wrap another pair, or this piece that we have, it will make the neck kind of look a little more fleshed out. No, it doesn't look like much now, but we're getting there. The detailing stuff, you guys can definitely take time and make it detailed, but this is essentially the armature for you to do all the like super rad details I know you guys have planned. Just kind of glue these parts in place. And then we'll take, starting at the top, we're going to pin the pantyhose in place. I'm going to use this kind of like glue, and I'm going to coat the back here with a little bit of latex so it sticks to itself a little easier. And just do that all the way around where we're going to attach it to the neck, or the head, sorry. Pins are sticking to my fingers. Okay, so I'm just gonna pin it up here at the top. You can roll it again. This would probably be the better time to roll it, and that'll kind of make it look a little bit like that nubby part where the bloom meets the rest of the flower or bud. Okay, so you kind of see how I made like a little rolled portion. That'll probably look pretty nice. So I'm just going to roll it a little bit and stick it to that latex. Pins, here we go. Pin it down. Pin it down, and then hot glue gun in my way. Then we're going to take it and we're going to stretch it tightly so it kind of holds that stuff on the inside, pulls it closer to the frame, and pin it at the base. I put a piece of glue there, so it's going to be a little pointy right there, but and push your pin into the base there. And then work your way around the neck. Okay, so see how I'm taking it and I'm bringing it around the bottom, sticking a little pin as I go, and it's going to meet the other side of the pantyhose, and you're going to end up overlapping them slightly. You can make your overlap happen in the back if you're going to have like a lot of leaves hiding it or something. I don't really care right now, but where mine meets, but that might be something to consider. Everything's sticking to my fingers. Okay, and then there's my meat. And then you're going to pull them tight around the neck. So you might need to cut some of this excess off so when they meet you have a nice thin overlap. So I'm actually going to cut the bottom off here. Save that for something else. Another leaf. And it has a little humpback because I put a piece I glued onto the wire there. So if you're gluing things to the frame, just make sure that you're going to end up with a hunchback. No shame to hunchbacks anywhere, but my Nana had a amazing hump. I don't think she had it her whole life. I think it was just old age. All right, so pull that taut again and stick the pin in again. Okay, you see where this guy is going, guys? So then we're going to overlap and soak it right here where they overlap, so it starts to stick on itself. And then once you've got it overlapped, pin it at the bottom. I would pin it all around the base. Ooh, it came undone. Okay, go the other way. Okay. And it's also kind of cool for you to have like overlapping things, because that's kind of how plants naturally are. They kind of unfurl from inside folds and stuff. This little guy is looking, he's a little chunk monster. But take your time with yours. And then you can just gather up this stuff at the base. And then, like I said, mine's going to get covered with, I haven't quite figured out what kind of faux dirt situation I'm going to make. But maybe, I mean, I could just honestly put gravel in there and spray paint it, or not spray paint it, but paint it. Okay, so now your plant has a neck. And let me see our little leaf there that we made, just so you can get an idea where this is going. So we'll start putting little, you know, plant parts all around. So we're making the components for our little character here. So now that we've got the neck armatured out, we can start coating it with the latex. And you're going to want to give this a good soap to make sure that everything sticks. So hopefully I'll be able to pull these pins out easy enough. You can cut the excess off if you want, but since mine's going to be getting covered, I don't care if it's down at the bottom or not. It's going to get covered with gravel or whatever. And if you drip onto your container, like I said, wait for it to dry. I mean, you can wipe it off, but you're just going to end up smearing it around. So just let the drip dry, and then it'll just peel right off. I wonder if you can, I bet you probably can't watch like movies in live streams if you're showing it. It'd be nice to be watching Little Shop of Horrors right now. If your sponge starts kind of giving you some crummy looking things, get a new brush. This guy's awfully chunky. Definitely chunkier than my last one, but it's got a little chubby face. Just give this a thorough coat. And once you get this first little layer dried, you can take your pins out because it'll, for the most part, be stuck in its position. At least this head's not quite as bobbing as much as the other one. The other one was really irritating to work on. The head would be wet, and I'd have to hold it with my hands, which then made fingerprints, which meant that I had to do more layers to cover the fingerprints. That's right, it's a little chubby baby. Chubby baby. Whatever. Oh, I got like a little bit of a gap right here. You can also, what I did on the first one, instead of just overlapping these and pinning them and letting the latex stick them together, I actually used hot glue. So that is also an option to get your pantyhose to stay together. Oops. Oh my goodness. Ah! Oh, geez. Knocking everything over. Sarah. Okay. So, I accidentally pulled this part apart. Like the smarty I am. So, pull it down. Actually, let's just use hot glue. Hold it there for a minute. Food color in the latex? You know, I think it probably would, honestly. If the India inks work, I don't see why food coloring wouldn't. But I have not tried it out. But I don't see why it would be a problem. So if that helps. So I'm just going to overlap with hot glue. So this doesn't happen again. Ah. Okay, everything's overlapped. Take these pins out, pretty sure. Let me hit it with a dryer. Where the heck did this pink come from? Oh, I didn't cover it on this side. I thought I got pink on this side, it's just the pantyhose color. I didn't get it there yet. More mixed up. Okay. Get the pins out. And I think we can latex is stuck all over my fingers. Alright, so as you can see, it's all kind of stuck in place. I might hit this seam up down here just in case. Don't want that to come spilling out. It's already got that kind of thin, delicate rubber feel to it. So just keep working. Gonna get these pins out. Oh, why did I put that in the freaking cup? I'm dropping my pins in the cup. Change my gloves real quick. Is anyone eating any snacks? I know, I wish I was eating snacks right now, but I'm afraid you guys would just hear me crunching. Okay. All right. Pretty cool, huh? It all sticks to each other. And we just move the pins and keep going. Just think of the Halloween stuff that you can do with this. Okay, let me mix up some more green, and I'm going to coat it a couple times and start going into the mouth area. And this is also where you can, I would wait to put the leaves and stuff, whatever you're going to put around it. Personally, if you don't want to make your own leaves, it's just this fine. I got this what are these? Cabbage. I want to say they're like cabbage. Looks just fine if you were to do that. It's fine. Maybe you could coat them with the same color or paint them to look a little more similar to the colors that you're using for yours. Crackers and peanut butter. That sounds good to me. All right, mixing up some green. And we can just start coating everything. And like I said, I think I'm going to do the teeth last. I think that will work out best. But I'm going to hit up the mouth again. Be careful not to get it on the green often, unless you plan on it. So the stuff I'm using is pretty runny, so that it's kind of nice and self-leveling, but it's also hard to get into places, which I think it was good that we did a solid coat. Cut this little piece right here. You could make bats for Halloween. That'd be cool. This is nice rubbery wings, pantyhose and latex. What else could you make? Oh, thank you. Sorry. There we go. And just start adding layers. If you're working on the top of the mouth, it kind of helps to turn it upside down so stuff doesn't drip down. Kind of doing the gums and going in here and dabbing a little bit of color where that lips meet the gums. Okay. Got a little snag of pink on the front here that I didn't want. So remember how I painted that little pink eye patch? The color really fades out. So don't worry about going to town or maybe dropping some a little bit accidentally. It covers really easily with, you know, a layer or two of the other color, and it takes a lot to actually build up the other ones. So I'm going to slap a bunch of layers now onto the neck and head, drying in between each one. And then, do you guys want to see me put the teeth in, or do you guys want to end it at that point? Because you think you can figure that out. It's up to you guys. And you could also layer other colors like on top of the green. Say you like the vibrant green, but you're also wanting maybe a purple undertone or something. Throw a layer or two on top of the green at the end, and that'll kind of layer it nicely. Yes. I'm probably only going to do like 2 fangs on this little dude. Teeth. Okay. Are you guys working on yours too, or is everyone just kind of watching? Not that I have a problem. Just wondering if anyone is working on one too and they want more time to kind of do a little group. And you know what? I'm honestly, I am kind of impressed that the pantyhose didn't rip when I put the pins through it. So that's kind of nice. How do you think we would do thorns on this guy? Like out of the center. Hot glue, I guess. Just make some little hot glue spikes. Probably be good. If you guys do floral arrangements, you could even save the really thick parts from like the larger, you know, pre-made bouquets or whatever. And you could use that for the neck if you want something really thin. But I liked the width and stuff that I had happening on this one. Let's see. I thought that was like kind of a nice ideal width. And also, it would be at this point also that I would put the little membrane there if that's what you wanted on the mouth. All I did for that was cut like a triangle out of the pantyhose, and I stretched it across the area that I wanted it to be. Oh yeah. I have no problem hanging out with you while you do it. Yeah, you want to definitely take your time carving the head. You're going to end up with a little lumpy, chunky guy. And the back of my neck is a little wrinkly right here. I don't care because it's going to get covered with foliage. So, all right, I've kind of fully coated it again. So I'm going to hit it with the thingy, the drying thingy thing. Alright, and just gonna keep layering until everything looks nice and smooth. Pretty much this is the exact process for making a bald cap. Except I don't believe bald caps use pantyhose. It'd be nice to sit down and, or not really sit down, but just make one over a couple days instead of doing it, the prototype one, it took me about 4 hours, kind of roughly, to do, start to finish. But it'd be cool to see what you could come up with if you got to take a couple days. I really want to do that stinking pumpkin blossom. You could really get into detail with like dripping different colors of latex so the petals look really almost color changing. And I wonder if you could even put mica powder in the latex if you wanted to give it a shimmer. Might be worth a try. Just giving you guys some ideas. And when you're adding your layers, I suggest adding really thin layers because they will dry faster. It'll dry faster and you won't have to combat lumpiness the whole time. And you don't have to use the mixture of colors tinting. You can just coat it with basic color, like whatever your stock color is for your latex. And you could paint it with regular paints. It's perfectly fine. Probably look really nice if you did it with an airbrush. How many of you guys actually have an airbrush? I'm not gonna lie, I personally hate having to use an airbrush just because they're messy and I hate cleaning fine instruments. And I swear, every time I disassemble my airbrush, it does not go back the same way. I pushed that little lump in and now it just looks dumb. Let me see if I can pull that back out. Yes, it needs to have a curvature in the spine. Sometimes you just get an impulse, you gotta act on it. I've got some extra. Do you think I should make a little membrane or just do the teeth? He's kind of small. He's maybe a little small. So while those layers are drying, I'm going to show you guys how I do the teeth. I made those teeth. The ones I made were kind of hastily made, so they're not amazing. But make sure you got your glue gun kind of hot. Let me switch it to here. I'm taking wire and I kind of bend it in the shape of a fang to begin with. Measure it against your little thing. Kind of make a curve. Can you guys see that? Probably not. So, you want your fang to make sure it's not going to puncture through the top of your plant's head, but you don't want it to be stuck in there shallow, whatever. I think that'll work. Okay. Then I'm gonna, oh, what just fell? I'm gonna hold this with, pick which end is going to be the widest part, and then you're just gonna put glue on it and let it drip down. it'll kind of self-level it. And it's okay if it, oh no. Just cover the top and let it drip down. I kind of messed up because I dropped it. Maybe I can smooth it out with a pen. That worked kind of nice. I just took a pin and helped pull the hot glue down. But I'm kind of trying to leave the end without it. If you end up getting it all the way to the end, that's fine. You can just cut it with your X-Acto knife or your blades. But I'm going to wait for it to dry. And if you need to kind of move it around to make sure that it doesn't get too something, whatever the word I was thinking of. It's like sagging too much on one side of the pin. But yeah, you pretty much just made a fang right there. Not bad. It's kind of easier if you're using a high temperature hot glue gun. I'm not. The glue stays liquid a little longer, so it kind of levels better. But once this is fully dry, you can kind of carve it with an X-Acto knife. Is anyone making something other than like the kind of Audrey one? Or is anyone doing like a flower or a cactus? Okay, I think it's cool enough, so I'm going to cut the end off that I don't need. Okay, so what I have is a fang, and I am just going to stick it in his mouth. There we go. Oh, it's kind of facing the wrong direction. Gotta put it at an angle where it looks natural. And it might be good. Oh, it's in there pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about that. But there's one. Are you doing a flower? The sunflower, right? I should have measured. I should have measured them against each other before I cut to make sure I had two of the same length. Mistakes were made. It's alright. He's chunky. He might be also bucktooth. Like, maybe I can make it a little more bent. It needs to be a little. And that's also the cool thing about. You can bend your fangs more if you'd like after the fact. That's the cool thing about using hot glue. It needs to be out further, like at an angle, right? I think. Yeah, that's a little better. Isn't there a plant actually called a snake plant? Okay, let's make it the second one. Just gonna hold this with some tweezers so I don't burn my fingers again. Can't remember, but doesn't Audrey have just like normal teeth or no teeth? Does Audrey even have teeth from Little Shop of Horrors? can, of course, make your fangs out of other stuff. I just like that this gave that kind of clear looking snake fang. You don't have to put fangs in that at all. Trying to match the size. Definitely make them at the same time, like cut them and then glue them before putting them up on the critter. Okay, we'll just let that dry or cool, I guess. All right, the teeth is too the tooth. I gotta reposition it. It's looking kind of derpy. So just remember that if you are going to use regular paint on top of this, it's going to change the gloss factor and obviously texture. So if you use like a high gloss paint of some kind that has more enamel in it, so it will look more like the latex, but I wouldn't use a matte paint unless that's what you're going for, which, you know, might be. Is this thing cool yet? Nope. Ring, 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 ring. Yeah, they cut a little bit of this off. Come on. This one doesn't want to come. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to look at this guy from the front. I feel like that's where the problem keeps happening. Okay, got two fangs there. These would look better with more fangs, but so now you could, what I had done on this other one is I placed all the fangs, and that's a different type of hot glue. That glue stick is like a yellow color, so it's not as translucent as this one. So if you're trying to go for this kind of look, make sure that your glue stick is like perfectly clear. But what I did is I had placed each individual fang, and then I went through, and from this tooth to this tooth, I just made like a little bridge with more hot glue. And that kind of made, it also built up the gums, which looked good. So I could do that right now on this guy. I'm going to flip them upside down so the hot glue pulls at the bottom. And I'm going to make like a little gummy protrusion for the fangs to be hanging out of, so it doesn't look so silly. So Send it in, and then you can cover it with more latex. There we go. This doesn't look too bad. Where is that leaf at? So I got some green in there. This is still drying, it looks like down here. Let me hit that with the hair dryer or heat gun or whatever. And I'm going to coat the fangs with the pink to help them kind of look more like the whole scheme that's going on here. Sometimes I think it would be nice to have it build up a little faster, the latex, for some circumstances, so it's not dripping all over your plate, your work. But kudos to you if you can afford to have multiples of things. Let me hit those up and see what they look like covered in pink or red. I don't know, it's like a fuchsia. Be careful with the heat gun because you don't want it to heat up your hot glue again. It actually helped the fangs look a little more translucent too. So I'm just going to keep adding to it. And, ouch, get the leaf. Show you guys. Probably better to be seen like this. And this was me. I poured, when I did this one, I just took 2 cups of the latex and I poured it together and let it do kind of a swirling effect, and I let it stay there like that and dry that way. So you can get some really cool textures and color variations and striations in the latex. I think that's a nice leaf. You could put little offshoots wires if you want, or you can use another thing that I didn't get to do. I was going to take red yarn and make threads for veins, like just string it out, not like full pieces of yarn. I guess you could use full pieces of yarn because once it gets wet with the latex it would probably shrink it down a little bit, but you could make veins that way. Just layering textiles in between layers of the rubber, and look how sturdy it is. Pretty cool, huh? Little one-armed guy. Just have him flap it back. Fabulous. High five. So there we have it, guys. I know this is nothing super spectacular looking, but I mostly wanted to experiment with this idea with you guys, and I think we really made, especially this leaf. I'm actually, the more it's fully dry now, and I'm actually pretty impressed with it. The applications of this for like costumes even, and everything is phenomenal. Like, you can make, look at that. But yeah, take some time, get your head exactly how you want it. This is how you basically create the form for your little monsters or whatever. I mean, shoot, it'd be super easy to just stick, petals. It'd be super easy to have flower petals around a head. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to put that one right there, and then we've got this guy. This took a little while, but I layered the same colors. This is the same colors that I worked with, and I really liked this kind of pink brown effect that I got with it. Oh, he's got styrofoam stuck to him. That is one thing I'm glad that happened, actually. I do think you're going to have to be cautious about dust with the latex rubber plants that we're making here. So maybe you make them big enough to sit inside bell jars or something. Because I can imagine dust would get stuck to this really easily. But if you're using 100% latex for like the coloring and everything, you can clean it. You could probably just wash it off with water and it'd be fine. So, but I definitely foresee it being a little bit of a dust magnet. All right, let me know what you guys think. Does anyone want to just keep hanging out while you make the rest of your plants? We can kick this over to Discord and we can sit and chit chat in Discord and you can ask questions live and not have to stop to type. Let me know in the comments right now and we could do that. But I appreciate your guys' patience. It's always an issue with this dang live stream business. Trying to... Oh, and by the way, you can reposition the head after everything is like dried as well. So... Now I'm probably, I haven't figured out if I'm going to redo this live stream or not, because I get really mad at myself when things don't go right the first time and there's like chaos at the beginning of every one. So I might end up reshooting this one. So if I do, I'll let you guys know. You can watch it a second time and hopefully it'll be shortened down a little bit too. So I hope you guys thought this was helpful or cool. Like I said, I'm going to put more foliage in here. Probably make 1 or 2 more leaves. And then cover it with some kind of fake dirt. And give it some more teeth. Or I just leave this guy as a little demo. And I make the head not so chunky. Okay, so alright, cool. So we'll wrap this live stream up. The basics are out there. Everyone kind of understood how to make a leaf. And we got to the point where you got the base of your sculpture there and you can paint it and go from there, adding layers. I don't want to make you guys sit through me adding more layers and drying it. But I think this is a good starting point. Make sure that if you guys do create something, you hashtag it so we can all see, or post it in Discord in the cornfield, or if you're in a guild, you can post it in there, whatever you want. I definitely appreciate you guys. We had 6 viewers this time. That's, I think, the most we've had for one of the craft alongs, so that's positive. Yeah, appreciate it, guys, for sure. All right, so I'll jump in Discord here in a minute. I need to go check on the kid and all of that. So I'll see you guys over there in about, I don't know, let's give it 15, 20 minutes. Thank you.